Start out in the personal exemptions. There are 3 exemptions that are $500 personal exemption. A common misconception out there that they're $500 off of your property taxes. They are actually a $500 exemption off of your assessed value. So their value is only worth about $8 to $10, but it is an exemption nonetheless. And why is my slide doing that? Hang on one second. There we go. So that's widow, widower, disability, or blind. And again, and another thing to note is that Homestead is not required for the exemption. That's one of the few exemptions out there where you don't need to have Homestead. But you can have 3. So if you own 3 homes, one of them's Homestead, you can have this $500 exemption on the other 2. Exemption for totally and permanently disabled persons. Now, this is an exemption that is income-based, meaning that your income must be less than $30,317 in order to qualify. So that is only for paraplegic, hemiplegic, or other disabled person who must use a wheelchair for mobility. So if your income is less than $30,000, your total taxes, total ad valorem taxes, are exempt from taxation here in Florida. And again, you need to provide your statement of gross income annually. We check that annually, and then a certified, initially to qualify, certified from 2 licensed Florida physicians to attest to your disability. Another income-based exemption available to all citizens in Pinellas County and throughout the state of Florida is low-income senior. In order to receive the low-income senior, you must be 65 before January 1 of the year in question. So if you turn 65, let's say today, you will be eligible for January 1, 2022 to qualify for this exemption. Again, it is income-based, and this income goes up gradually every year, typically close to the cost of living increase. But for 2021 qualifications, your income, and that is adjusted gross income on your tax return if you file it. If you don't file a tax return, you just have proof of other income. It only includes the taxable portion of Social Security. So if you're receiving Social Security and it's not taxable, that does not count towards the 31-1. And you must live in a tax district offering the exemption. Every one of our districts within Pinellas County does offer an exemption for the low-income senior, and it is an exemption, an additional exemption off the millage rate for the tax district only. And this chart tells you how much that is worth currently with last year's millage rates. This year's millage rates are about to be approved soon in budget meetings, and this chart will change if there's any change in the millage rate. So the highest happens to be Dunedin. If you live in Dunedin, you get an extra $50,000 off the millage rate for 2. Well, actually, Bel Air is the highest, and this gives you the varying savings, and this is an annual savings off your taxes. So this is a nice exemption to have. There are 3 jurisdictions in Pinellas County who have offered the low-income senior long-term residency exemption. Most currently, the city of St. Petersburg offered this for 2021. Now, what this is a total exemption off of city millage taxes within these cities, as opposed to just an additional $25,000 or $50,000 off of that. So it's a very valuable exemption, but there are some stringent qualifications for it. You must reside in the same homestead residence for 25 years or more, and not just a resident of the city, it must be the same household. You must meet the annual income limitation just like the seniors, and you must be 65 or older as well. And again, this is available in the city of St. Pete, North Reddington Beach, and Safety Harbor. Dates are important. Everything in our world goes off the date of January 1st. For Homestead, you must own and occupy as of January 1st in order to qualify for Homestead. And for all of these exemptions, you must qualify the next January 1st after you meet the requirement, meaning if you turn 65 this year, you qualify January 1st of next year. For the VA disabilities, and we'll get into the VA exemptions available, they're effective the January 1st after application and after the determination of the disability by the VA. And applications must be submitted by March 1st. In our office, we do allow applications all the way up to, for instance, this year, September 17th, for any of these exemptions, but you must also fill out an extenuating circumstance form. But we urge you, if you are eligible and will be eligible, maybe next year, to try to submit them before March 1st. But if you forget, it's okay. We'll allow you to submit the application afterwards. So we get into the veterans and first responder exemptions. There are, just to go line by line, veterans service-connected disability 10% or greater is a $5,000 exemption, meaning whether you're 10%, 20%, or 90%, you get a $5,000 exemption. And in most cases, that's worth about $100, $80 to $100 off your taxes annually. There's the total and permanent service-connected disability, which is a 100% exemption of your ad valorem taxes. Then there's the combat disability. Now this is veterans that are over 65. You must be 65 or older, and that will reduce your taxable value by the percentage of disability. So if your disability is determined by the VA to be 50% combat related, you will get 50% off your ad valorem taxes, your assessed value after applying Homestead and the $5,000 exemption. And then veteran confined to a wheelchair. This is a very specific. Those veterans requiring special adapted housing, you would also get a 100% exemption. And Florida first responders are also entitled to a 100% exemption, but the disability must have occurred in the line of duty. All of these pass on to the surviving spouse under certain conditions. And those certain conditions mean after the veteran has passed, the surviving spouse may not remarry. And if they move from the home, the marital home, they only carry the exemption that existed on that home to their next home if they homestead it. Deployed service members. Deployed service members are entitled to an exemption for the period of time they are deployed. Now, these are only operations designated by the Florida legislature. Typically, they're outside of the United States and in zones designated more than likely for combat. But while they are gone and away from Florida, they get a prorated exemption. So if they're gone for 270 days in a current year, they would get almost a 3/4 exemption off their property taxes, 270 over 365. And this is for active duty military or reserves, including Coast Guard and Florida National Guard. The governor of the state of Florida last year, actually this year, actually 2020, I'm sorry, but it's effective this year. Law took into effect whereby if you have a total and permanent disabled veteran or you're a surviving spouse who has one on your current home, you can, when you sell that current home, that exemption stays on that house till December 31st. But if you buy another home in the same year that you sold this one, you can qualify for a refund of your taxes for the period you owned it. This gets a little complicated. I'll try to make it simple. So if you sold a home in June of 2020, and you bought another home in June of 2020, let's say June 30th is when you bought that home. When you close on that home, the exemption that went with that home is what you inherit to the end of the year. So you will be credited on the closing statement half the taxes for the year by the seller. The other half, you will be required to pay it come the November tax bill, along with the half that you already received in the closing statement. So you pay the full tax bill. You then apply for Homestead on the new home that you bought. You carry this exemption for T&P with you. And if you qualify in that home, we will then issue you a refund for the taxes for the period from July 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. And that occurs every year now from this point forward. If you feel we went into our database this year and determined who would qualify. If you feel you did qualify if you had a sale event and a purchase event in 2020, please contact our office because we can still process that refund. Veterans exemptions. Now, forms of proof requiring processing. Summary of benefits, rating, decision, award letter. The DD 214 stating you're honorably discharged, and the death certificate of a veteran in case of a surviving spouse. Now, I would like to, if I could, turn it over to the gentlemen, Zephyr and Mike, who are with us from the Pinellas County Veterans Service Office, before we get into questions. So they can introduce themselves and their contact information to see if they can help you with your veterans exemption. Definitely, Mike.
All right. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. I'd definitely like to introduce myself. And my name is Zephyr Mims. I'm the director of Pinellas County Veterans Services. And joining me is Michael Swanger. He's the supervisor for Pinellas County Veterans Services. And I'd just like to say I want to take this opportunity to let everybody know where we are and what we can do and how we can assist veterans with any veterans-related benefits-related questions. And I understand there's a slide at the end of the slide presentation that gives our contact information, I believe, unless this is it.
No, Zephyr, we were not able to incorporate that. I'm not.
I'm sorry.
You want to just tell everybody
okay.
how to contact you?
Absolutely. Well, as far as our locations, currently, due to the pandemic, we only have two locations that are optional, that are operational, that veterans can actually walk into right now. During normal times, we actually have 5 different locations, but currently we have our 2 main offices. Our one office is in Clearwater. It's at the corner of Belcher and Cleveland Street. I'm going blank and forgetting the address, but it's at the corner of Belcher and Cleveland Street. And most importantly, the phone number is 727-464-8460. That's the Clearwater office. And the St. Petersburg office, we have an office that's downtown St. Petersburg, and that phone number is 727-582-7828. And I'd just like to say that, we work very hard letting citizens know who we are, where we are, and how they should be contacting us on any issues that are related to veterans benefits, whether it be local, state, or federal benefits. they should be contacting us, and we can definitely get those questions answered and assist them in any way. We have a lot of relationships, whether it be with the VA or the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs. We networking and collaborate with those folks, so we can pretty much assist with most veterans issues that arise. And I like to say that we like to recruit what we call veterans ambassadors, and that's pretty much any citizen, and let them know who we are, where we are, because most citizens are not more than 1 or 2 degrees of separation from a veteran. You know, most of us know veterans, whether it's mom, dad, sister, brother, husband, wife, neighbors, church members, and anytime any veterans questions should come up, we would like you to be able to say, hey, you should give Pinellas County Veteran Services a call. They will definitely be able to assist you. So with all that being said, and our introduction, we'll definitely take any questions and like for folks to contact us with any questions following this, and we'll move forward. I don't even remember if that was an actual question, but I'm gonna definitely let Michael chime in, and we'll definitely get any questions answered that come up.
Mr. Mills, as well, you know, I did post for all you that are on this presentation. I did post the phone numbers for both our St. Pete and Clearwater offices and the addresses. So if you scroll through the message chat, you'll be able to see that contact information. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Mike. So we will now open it up for questions that you may have, and like Mr. Twitty said at the beginning, it can be about your homestead exemption and any other topic that you would like to discuss. And so, Donnie, do we have any questions yet online?
Mary Beth Azarisi had a question earlier.
Well, I was having a huge problem hearing you. I think your mic is I don't know. It was awful. It was so the rebound effect was horrible, scratchy, everything. So I missed a whole lot. I was trying to raise my hand and say, "Can you clear that fuzzy noise up?" But anyways, that was it. Now, are you going to get into an exemption also for people over 70?
No, ma'am. The age qualification is 65. Once you hit 65, you will be eligible for the low-income senior exemption. Any age after that.
Okay, but if it's not low income, you can still get a discount, I thought.
No, ma'am, there is no discount available that is not income-based.
Oh, okay. I thought that there was after 70. Okay. And will you be getting into the portability factor also?
We certainly can. Absolutely.
Okay.
And if you don't mind, we'll wait for other questions related to these, and then we'll go on portability. Happy to.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Is the audio better now, ma'am?
We have a question from Charmaine Martinez. Charmaine, can you unmute yourself?
Hello, good morning. I have 2 questions. And the first one is on the days credited you went over. Does that apply if the home is occupied by other family members? If the owner is deployed and he's gone or she's gone, the days are credited. But if it's occupied, does it have to be unoccupied? And the second question is on the transfer of the tax exemption. With the credit going back, is that automatic? Will that always be automatic when the person buys the home, when the veteran buys the home?
So for the deployed exemption, as long as the veteran is deployed to one of the approved operations, then the credit will apply. Family member can stay in the home, and that is not a problem.
Okay.
So your other question related to if you were total and permanent and bought another home?
The other question was the I think that's what it was, the transfer tax. Where if they have their, yes, it was. So they're leaving their 100% home and they're going into the new home and they get that rebate. Is that automatic now? Will that be always automatic?
Well,
It triggers in your system?
Just to be clear, it's not a transfer. So in order to be eligible for that refund, the new home you bought, you have to apply for Homestead and for the total and permanent disability. When you do that, then we would know that you had it on your previous home, and you would then qualify as long as you pass January 1, establish Homestead, and then we would issue the refund after the taxes are paid on the current home.
Okay. So it's not automatic. When they do apply for Homestead, they have to make sure they apply for the same benefits they had on the home they sold.
Absolutely, and we want to make that clear to everybody. Homestead or any other exemption is not automatically transferred to the next home you buy. You have to apply, and every time you change your homestead or the home you own, you need to apply for the following January 1. Thank you for the question.
We have a question from Lynn
Thank you.
Flecker. Lynn is asking that we discuss portability and the dates of sales versus new purchase. Ms. Flecker, if you want to unmute your computer, we can.
I just unmuted it, and my question is both actually homestead exemption and portability. So I am in the process of selling my current house sometime, and I'm closing on my new place January 1. So if I sell my current place before I close on my new one, can I still like keep all the benefits that I have for homestead and portability?
Okay, the home you're selling, when you sell it, the exemption you have on it and the differential you have on it, the difference between just market value and assessed value, stays with that home until January 1. So the buyer gets the benefit of that for the balance of the year that they own it. Then when you purchase your new home, and you say you're closing on January 1, if you close before, on January 1 or before, you then apply for Homestead on that home and apply for portability. And the amount that was of your differential on the home you sold is what you can port to the new home.
Well, I guess let me rephrase the question. So I have my house up for sale now. I cannot close on my new house until after January 1. It'll be in the middle of January because it won't be built yet. It won't be finished. And so am I better off waiting to sell my current house until I close on my new house? In other words, will I lose any benefit by selling now instead of waiting until I close on the new one?
Okay, there's a lot of moving pieces here, but we'll try to make it simple. If you waited to sell, okay, there is a chance that your portability could be higher next year than it is right now. Right now, your portability is fixed. That you will see, and we'll get to that later, your trend notice very soon. You'll see the differential between just market and assessed value. That could change next year. It could go up, it could go down. In the current market, it's hard to even suggest it would go down. But there is that possibility. But if you're moving into your new home after January 1, you would qualify for homestead the following January 1 if it's not ready. But the good news is you will only have to pay taxes on land, not the land and the building, because you couldn't occupy the building as of January 1. So the taxes will be low in that first year. And then you can apply for portability for 2023. Does that help?
I guess I might have to come into the office and talk to someone.
We'd be happy to help, man.
It's very complex.
It is.
Thank you.
Are there any other additional questions anyone would like to ask?
I think they wanted a little bit of an overview on portability.
Ms. Martinez, if you want to unmute your mic, we can take your question.
Okay, another question on probate. When a person passes away, and they're the only name on the deed, how do you know to take homestead off? Obviously for this year, like if a person passes away this year, their homestead is still on there. If they had homestead, the homestead is still on there. And then 2022, how do you know that homestead will no longer apply for that home?
If the person had homestead, we typically get information by way of this state list that is provided to our office to let us know of any homesteaders that have passed within this year. And we would then set the exemption to not renew for the following year. So the remainder of the year would still benefit from the exemption, but for the following year it would be removed.
Thank you.
And Ms. Martinez, do you have another question?
No, I thought I lowered my hand. Sorry. Okay, it's lowered.
We're just trying to pull up some information about portability. Having a little technical issue with our power screens.
While you're doing that, if I could say a word or two.
Absolutely.
I would just like to say, try to give an example, because sometimes people don't really understand the role that we play. And I'd just like to give a scenario as to, you may have a veteran that has a service-connected disability. However, but that disability has not been rated combat related. So part of what we can do is work with that veteran to do the research to try to provide the medical evidence to support that claim of that disability being combat related. So that's kind of an example of some of the things that we can do to assist veterans, to just try to give people a better understanding of the role that we play. And then we would provide documentation to help support that claim of that disability, of that injury being combat related. Thank you. I know that wasn't a question, but just try to for clarification, but help people understand part of the role that we may play.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Jeffrey. So a little bit on portability. The differential that you have, if you've lived in your home for quite some time, in any home in Florida, it doesn't have to be in Pinellas County, you have probably built up a difference between your assessed value and your just market value. Because the assessed value, once you've established homestead, can only go up by a maximum of 3%. annually, and it very rarely hits 3%. For instance, the increase in assessed value this year is 1.4%, but your market value potentially rose more than that. So you gained some additional differential from year to year. That differential you can take with you to another home in the state of Florida. Doesn't have to be Pinellas County. As long as you establish Homestead in another home in the state of Florida within 3 tax years from the January 1 that you sold your home. So if you sold your home this year, for instance, in 2021, January 1, 2021 is the first January 1 towards those 3 tax years. So you need, in order to keep that benefit for another home, you need to move it to another home. I'll go through these slides a little bit. There we go. So let's say you sold, today is August 13th. Say you sold today. January 1st of 2021 is the first year. January 1st of 2022 is the second year, and 2023 is the third year. So you need to own and occupy a home before January 1 of 2024. I do want to mention that this only used to be a 2 January 1s. And Mr. Twitty was responsible for getting legislation passed and our voters in 2018, right, Mike? Or 2020, just passed an additional year. We saw a lot of cases where people lost affordability because a home was under construction, it didn't get done in time, and various other scenarios. So Mike was influential to get the Florida legislature to get on the ballot to add an additional year to this, which is very, very beneficial to the taxpayers here in the state of Florida. Now, back to affordability questions. Do we have any more?
Why don't you show them how to
Okay. Now I'll go back. That was back, right? Okay. So if you upsize, in other words, for an example, I'll try to give a simple example. You have a home that the just value is $400,000 and the assessed value is $300,000. You have $100,000 to take with you. If you buy another home where that just value in the January 1, the year after you buy it, is more than $400,000, you would be entitled to the full $100,000 back. But if you bought a home, let's say, that was $200,000, you would only benefit half, that $200,000 over the $400,000 that you sold. You would get $50,000 of affordability. And it is subject to a $500,000 maximum. So if your differential is more than $500,000, you can only take $500,000 with you. Oh, absolutely. And on our website, on the front page of our website, which is www.pcpao.org, right under Mr. Twitty's picture, we have a beautiful tool called the Tax Estimator, where it's really easy if both homes are in Pinellas County. If you're selling a home in Pinellas and buying another one in Pinellas, you can enter in those addresses, and it does the calculation for you as to what your taxes will be the year following the purchase of your new home, including portability from your old home. So it is a very useful tool if you are dealing with realtors and looking for a home or buying a home, I would ask them to do that for you if you don't feel comfortable doing it. So you can see the estimate of how much port you can take with you, whether you're upsizing or downsizing. It explains all that, and it's a wonderful tool.
Get a hand up. Show me. Physical hand up.
More on it, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, that page for the estimator, I'm a realtor, and I use that all the time. I love that, and I think buyers really like that. Up front, this is an approximate what you're going to be seeing when you buy this new home or this existing home, but you're buying it, taxes are going to go here, and then this is where you start, and here you go. And they really like that, and I really like that. So thank you for that.
Thank you. We appreciate you telling everybody how great a tool it is. We think it is, and it is. It is an estimate. Okay, so we typically value homes. We use 86% of your purchase price to determine your just value the following year. It could vary. It could be higher than that. It could be lower than that. But that has been the average just value for the last 2 years. The year after purchase, taking purchase price to just value the following year, it's been about 85, 86% for the last 2 years. There are instances where it's more, instances where it's less. We try to be conservative, and we also include non-ad valorem taxes in that estimate as well, not just your ad valorem taxes. If you're moving into a district with non-ad valorem taxes. So there are no questions at the moment. There's a few things we'd like to point out. In addition to your trim notice. Your trim notice is an estimate of your taxes that is coming out. It's going to be mailed on the 23rd, so a week from this coming Monday. Your trim notice will appear in your mailbox a day or two after it is mailed. We just wanted to point that out, and this is a notice of your estimated taxes to explain a little bit about what this trim notice, what information it gives you. In the blue box, this is actually last year's trim notice. In the blue box, it has market value, assessed value, and taxable value. Market value is the market value that we have valued that property, our office, as of January 1 of 2020. We value, again, dates are important. We value everything as of one day, January 1. Assessed value, if you see, is the amount that your property went up. This one happens to be a homesteaded property. So the increase from 19 to 20 was 2.3%. So that 204, 209 in the white box assessed was increased by 2.3% to become 208. In this case, the market value of this home didn't go up that much. So there was maybe a little bit of cap lost, but then the taxable value is the assessed value less exemptions. And in this case, it's only a $50,000 homestead exemption. So there's $50,000 off that to determine your taxes. Scroll down a little bit, and there is this is your ownership information, your parcel number, your address, your legal description of your property. Again, that's the section we just talked about. And then here is an estimate of your taxes. You apply the taxable value, which was right above. And if you look in column 2, taxable value, that is the assessed value less the homestead exemption. Now, when you get down to schools, which is about 6 lines down, the second 25,000 homestead exemption is not available for school taxes. Only the first 25,000 is. So you'll see that 158,906 jump to 183,906. So because the second 25,000 is not an exemption for school taxes. The millage rates are all determined by the taxing districts. This one happens to be Seminole Fire District in unincorporated Pinellas. So you have those districts as well as the county general fund. They determine the millage rates. You just take the taxable value times the millage rates to determine what your taxes. Column 3 is the proposed budget change. In most, if not all cases, the column 3 is going to be your taxes for this year. It is very rare. Budget meetings, and we'll get to that in a minute, are being held between now and mid-September, where the public can come in and discuss budgets with each one of these districts and comment on the millage rate and the taxes. And we urge you to do so and come to these meetings because this is your voice. You have an opportunity to affect the millage rate. We do not produce the millage rates, the taxing districts do. We produce the value and administer your exemptions. And at the bottom of the first page of the trim, this shows you on the right side, you have the 25,000 homestead exemption and the Save Our Homes cap is the difference between, that's your portability amount that you can take with you to the next home if you happen to sell it, buy another one. And on the back page, this is the phone number, the addresses, the dates and times of all the budget meetings that are being held. Last year, due to the pandemic, a lot of them were virtual. This year, you will have the option of attending in person or virtually as well. And if you live in a district, if you look at the bottom, there we go, a little closer. If you live in a district with non-ad valorem taxes, and they're typically lighting, surface water assessments only attributable to homes within a certain area, that is also on the trim notice, as well as a contact number if you have questions about that. And again, column 3 is that is the millage rate that the taxing authorities have already suggested that they adopt. And again, it sometimes changes by the time tax bills come out, but very rarely. And a very good explanation of market value, assessed value, taxable value. Please read the trim when you get it. A lot of people see when they get it, this is not a bill, and they don't pay any attention to it. A lot of times, if you have applied for Homestead and we have not yet approved it for 2021 because we're still waiting some information, you'll see that on the trim that you did not get your Homestead exemption. So we're awaiting additional information. We urge you to call us if you feel that there is an exemption that we're missing, or you can even call our main number, which is 727-464-3207, to talk to the appraiser if you don't believe your value is correct as well on this trim notice. It's a very important document, and we'd rather have you get an alert about the value and the exemptions long before you actually get your tax bill in November.
Thank you. We're going to go over a couple of other things, just a couple of quick FYIs that are important things resources that you should be aware of. We do have a buyer-seller fact sheet on our current website, and we'll also want to alert you that we will have a new website rolling out that will be completely mobile friendly, and we'll have all the resources that are in our current website, but in a more user-friendly way, and it will be easier to access. Plus, it will have a lot more tools to not only help our citizens, but also our business users that utilize our site every day in their daily business practice. So keep an eye out for that. That has been through external beta and will be rolling out within the next 60 days. So you'll see that change coming. But anyway, these buying and selling fact sheets are available on our website. It's a great little quick check if you're considering doing either of those two items, and just to make sure that you've done all your exemption housekeeping and you've addressed portability and those types of things. The other thing I want to make you aware of, there's a great free service offered by our clerk of the court here in Pinellas, and it is a free monitoring service for property fraud alerts. We've had a rising number, not only in our county, but around the nation, of people filing fraudulent deeds. And usually the most vulnerable are our seniors that have a lot of equity in their property. So what happens in those cases is somebody creates a fake deed and they file it with the clerk, because you can effectively record anything at the clerk's office. So they can't block it right there. They just record that puts it into the public record, and then that person tries to go and attempt to take out a mortgage against that property. And unfortunately, a lot of times some of these things can actually happen, and it can be months and months before the property owner is even aware. So if you utilize this free service, just go to the clerk's site, you enter your name and your email, and every time anything gets recorded into public records that has your name on it, you will get an email alert that will have a link to the OR booking page, so you can check out that document. So, if you have an unusual name, you're not going to get very many emails. If your name is, John Smith, you might get a few more, but you'll at least be aware every time a transaction happens in those days. And it's not even just sales. It's also anything that goes through a public record. So it could be a notice of commencement, it could be a satisfaction of mortgage, or the origination of a new mortgage. So important service that is completely free. There are a lot of paid services out there, but I wanted to make you aware that our clerk office offers this one for free. If we don't have any more questions, also like to make you aware we do have continuing public education, through our office here. This one was completely virtual because of the situation where we are in right now with the rising number of cases. But we will get back to in-person sessions here in our new training facility in South County. We are here at 2400 34th Street North, 2500. It is. All right. Like I said, it's a new location, so we're still burning the street address in. So we've only been up and going here for about a year, and it feels like less because of the pandemic. So 2500 34th Street North, we're here on the second floor. Tax collector is their public service, customer service is on the first floor. So we will continue to offer a mix of hybrid as we go forward, or back to full in person when the time is right. So keep an eye on our website. We've got sessions for first-time Florida property owners. We've got this tax exemption one will probably repeat itself in a timely fashion. And we also have ones that will cater to real estate professionals. And that's not just realtors, that is also title agents, attorneys, construction professionals. So there's a lot of people that touch our website and use our services daily. We'll also be doing tutorial sessions on the new website as it rolls out, because it will have a lot of power tools inside of it. We want to make sure everybody knows how to benefit from those. So with that, I'd like to thank our expert panel for joining us. That includes Mike and Zephyr out there in cyberspace somewhere. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Thank you for the work you do with our veterans. They are greatly appreciated for the service that they provided us and our country for these many years, as well as our first responders here in Florida and abroad. So we want to continue to be a resource here for you. So if you have any questions about your property or your exemptions, reach out to us. Remember, anything that's actually involves dollars, paying your taxes, those type of things, those have to go through the tax collector. We collect no payments. We only handle the value in the exemption side. The taxing authorities set the millage rates. Your tax bill is determined by value minus exemptions times millage rate. So that's the equation, and we all have our separate duties to fulfill here as constitutional officers. So once again, I'm Mike Twitty. Thank you to our panel. Thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you again in another one of our sessions.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.
Okay, where'd I go?